Welcome to Miss.sheeena's world. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe.
Tweet is why Jackie Aina hates Juvia's place. I'm seeing a lot of comments and think pieces of people just not really remembering what happened back then or just weren't there to witness it. So I'm here to break it down in detail so we can all be on the same page during this conversation. So back in 2019, Juvia's Place, which obviously is a black-owned makeup brand, there was a major controversy that included, Jackie Aina, Jeffree Star, Alyssa Ashley, and of course the founder of Juvia's Place, Gigi. So the issue started around Juvia Place's foundation launch. Jeffree Star reviewed the foundation launch, praised it, raving reviews, tens of millions of views. I mean, it blew up. Juvia's Place reposted it, thanked him, and that's when the backlash really kind of started to explode. But it wasn't necessarily only centered towards Jackie Aina. Now, this was not PR. Jeffree was not sponsored. He was not paid. He, on his own free will, organically went into Ulta, bought the products, and gave a review that no one asked for. If you know Jeffree Star, he regularly does this. So the issue was that Juvia's Place publicly celebrated his review, even though Jeffree Star has a very long-standing history of racist comments and public issues with black women, including a personal attack on Jackie Aina. There's allegations that he called her a gorilla and some other racist remarks. So people felt like, how is a black-owned brand built heavily on African-inspired branding and black consumer support, how are they excited to be validated by someone with a history, such as Jeffree's, while there are several black creators who are saying, they feel ignored, they want to work with Juvia's Place, but they're not, getting the offers, and they kind of feel disrespected by it. So that's where Alyssa Ashley come in, because they spoke out against it.
Wash and go. But for the people that don't understand why it's been so hard for the black girls to let go of Jackie Aina and to really see through her bullshit for so long, y'all have to understand this woman has made a career off of calling brands out for not being inclusive to black women, especially black women of a darker shade, for not paying black women, for not collaborating the same amount as they would with white women. Like, she has built her career on this shit. That's why, people haven't been able to let her go. It took me a while to see through her as well. But that Patrick Tosh shit that she pulled last year was the last straw for me personally. I even was with her with the don't call me auntie shit, even though she started the whole call me auntie shit. But last year, when she was supporting him after he literally had been just called out by multiple black makeup artists and multiple black influencers for not paying them, this lady sat her ass on this app and promoted those blushes. Those same blushes. She promoted those blushes. Well, no, it's a different blush. But still, she promoted his blushes. Because I think that's the only thing that Patrick Todd is known for. I heard the rest of the line is garbage. I wouldn't know. I don't support him. That was the very last straw for me. And like I said, I'm pretty sure even now, there's still going to be a lot of black women that are brainwashed by her and all of her issues. It's because this lady was in the field. She was advocating, doing all the things on YouTube. That's where her massive following came from. It did not come from TikTok. It's all the girlies that missed her on YouTube followed her to TikTok. But that's why nobody has been able to see through her bullshit. That's why. And then now her saying that basically she's not going to fight anyone's battles or she's not going to call brands out. Girl, please. And I also saw the little video that she posted about Juvia's Place. Babe, the plot, you, please. And she also supports Huda Beauty. Yeah, so if y'all wanted to know why, that's why people are not able to see through her bullshit.
Hey, y'all. So Jackie made a response video. I did not see it on TikTok. I saw it elsewhere because I presume that I'm blocked by now, but who knows? Anyway, and in the video, she was doing a lot of deflection and not a lot of taking ownership for the whole Patrick Todd painted by Esther thing. What she did do was talk a lot about Juvia's Place, which I was kind of confused about because I was like, who's talking about Juvia's Place, girl? But the thing is that if she wants to talk about Juvia's Place, we can talk about it because I do love to be a little bit of a historian in these online spaces, right? So if you want to hear the history of it, I'm happy to share. If she wants to talk about Juvia's Place, then I think we should talk about Juvia's Place, okay? But listen, I want y'all to know that I'm wearing right now on my face, this is a unity look, okay? I'm wearing Jackie Aina's ABH palette on my eyes, and I'm doing a little painted by Esther look. And if I had Juvia's Place blushes, I would be wearing their blushes as well, but I don't have their blushes, so, it is what it is. But anyway, I like peace on earth, goodwill towards men. I think that both parties were equally wrong in the situation. This is not meant to malign or harm anyone. I just want to kind of reiterate or tell you guys the facts of the situation, okay? So let's get started. So to understand what happened between Jackie Aina and Juvia's Place, you need to understand the 2016 beauty guru makeup era, right? In the 2010s, mid-2010s, like 2016 to 2019, that was peak beauty influencer power, right? And this was an age of like hyper consumption. and people were buying lots and lots of products. And the people who were driving a lot of that consumption were beauty influencers, because basically for the longest time, the advertising industry couldn't figure out how to market to my generation, to millennials, right? But they realized that influencer marketing was the best way to do things, right? So basically this idea of people building these parasocial relationships with these YouTubers and having them almost like their friends tell them what to buy. And when these influencers endorse products, the products flew off the shelves, okay? I have a lot of relics from those days, right? I mean, like right here, this is Jaclyn Hill's Champagne Pop highlighter. This is Ezzy and Katie's Dose of Color highlighter, Chasing the Sun. I love this highlighter. It's still my favorite highlighter to this day. I have Makeup Shayla's Color Pop Perception palette. Don't look at it. This has like been beaten up, but as you can see, this is a very well-loved palette, okay? We love Makeup Shayla here. She's my favorite, of course. This is Jackie Aina's ABH palette. I actually have 2 of them, okay? And I used it on my face today. Jackie also endorsed a brand called Mented. Here's Mented lipstick right here, okay? They really told you what to buy and what not to buy. And they really moved mountains. They had real financial power. And in the Black beauty space specifically, Jackie Aina was very much at the head of the table, right? Her platform had a lot of institutional power. And she also had, there was also like kind of a network of creators, of other beauty influencers kind of like under her, who basically followed her lead, okay? And Alyssa Ashley was one of those people. Brands knew that an endorsement, especially for a Black-owned brand, an endorsement from Jackie Aina really moved mountains, right? And not just mountains. And by mountains, I mean it moved product. It had a real financial benefit because her followers basically were extremely loyal to her and bought whatever she told them. I was one of her followers at the time too, and I did that as well. You know, there are Black-owned brands that Jackie used her platform to uplift. One of which was Mented, and also another one was Beauty Bakery, right? And because of that, a lot of those products sold really well, or sold a lot of units thanks to Jackie's endorsement. Now enter Juvia's Place. Juvia's Place is a Black-owned brand owned by a Nigerian woman named Chichi Ibiru, and they built their entire brand identity on Black and African beauty, and basically centering deep and dark skin tones and making these like kind of beautiful eyeshadow palettes in order to that were accessible and were pigmented enough to show up on deeper skin tones. And that was kind of the whole brand's identity, very kind of pro-Black in its conception, right? And I think that the thing about Juvia's Place, though, I think that when they entered the scene, I think that there was probably an expectation. I don't really know. I wasn't behind the scenes, right? I don't know nothing, right? I'm just guessing. These are just my opinions. Who knows? Right? And Chichi actually said some things herself, that there was an expectation that they kind of go to the Jackies and the Alyssas specifically of the world in order to get them to endorse the brand. And there probably was an expectation of some kind of ring kissing that needed to happen. But here's the thing. Chichi's Nigerian, girl. And I think that's important because I'm Nigerian too. And let me tell you something about Nigerians, girl. Nigerians don't know how to kiss nobody's ring, okay? We're a culture with a lot of pride. Half of us all think that we're African royalty. Everybody says that they're Nigerian prince and princess, myself included, okay? and we got a lot of pride, right? So when the beauty elite are coming knocking on the door, having expectations about what Juvia's Place, the CEO, was supposed to do and how quickly they should send PR, and them saying jump and her supposed to say how high, she probably was like, huh? Who do you guys think you are? Do you know who I am? Do you know who I am? Oh, what kind of thing is that? I'm sure that's what Chichi thought, okay? Because that's what it is. And so because Chichi refused to kiss the ring, I think, as a result, Jackie and Alyssa really did not endorse that brand. And in fact, actually subtly shaded that brand and kind of got their followers not really to buy the brand. You know, they just kind of side-eyed it and kept quiet and did not give the might of her endorsement to, Jackie did not give the might of her endorsement to Juvia's Place. And also on top of it, actually, Alyssa was actually saying things that were kind of negative about the brand. So much so that, fun fact is that Juvia's Place sent Alyssa Ashley a cease and desist, but instead of sending the cease and desist to Alyssa Ashley, they actually sent it to her twin sister, Arnell Armand, instead of sending it to Alyssa, which was a very kind of embarrassing mix-up. And Alyssa kind of posted the proof because her sister Arnell did not know what the hell was going on. She was like, huh, what is this about? But anyway, that's what happened. But in any case, that's just demonstrative of the fact that there was like legal tension behind the scenes between Juvia's Place and one of Jackie's very close friends, Alyssa Ashley, you know, and because there was like a lack of endorsement, right? But while Jackie was not endorsing Juvia's Place, she was endorsing Too Faced, right? She had a really close partnership with Too Faced, and she collaborated with them on the Born This Way Foundation, and you know, had increased number of shade ranges as a result. But Too Faced kind of got into a little bit of a controversy, right, where they had a birthday cake. And I'm telling you this because it becomes important later. One of the founders had a birthday cake, and on the birthday cake they said "Rich Lives Matter," which obviously is a direct mockery of Black Lives Matter. And notably, Jackie did not say anything, did not call them out, did not chastise them, and people were kind of unhappy with her about that because her whole platform was all about like championing the interests of Black people and calling out brands for racism left and right. But, you know, in this case, she didn't do that because she was financially involved. Does that sound like a situation that we might have heard of recently? Interesting. Anyway, but I think that that's an important piece of information to understand. So before there was even the breakdown that happened in 2019, it's important to know that there was already tension between this brand and Jackie Aina and Alyssa Ashley behind the scenes, so much so that a cease and desist was sent. Well, here's what happened. So Jeffree Star, who has a well-documented history of racism, using the N-word, and being, quite frankly, one of the most problematic figures in the beauty space, but also a person who had a lot of structural power and who had a lot of very loyal followers and really could move product with his endorsements, just like in the same way that Jackie could, but had even more power than Jackie did in that sense, posted an unsolicited organic review of the Juvia's Place Foundation, okay? I remember the time in which that happened, and that was a time in which I think Jeffree was trying to appeal to a wider audience and kind of clean up his image. So I think that he had secondary motivations in reviewing the Juvia's Place product without actually getting any PR. But he did do it spontaneously, and it was a very positive review, right? And Chi Chi was really excited to see it, right? Juvia's Place, the brand, thanked him for their review and said, wow, we're really grateful that you chose to review this, even though we didn't even send you the product. And when this happened, Alyssa and Jackie wasted no time coming out swinging, loudly and publicly condemning the brand with righteous indignation. How can a pro-black brand celebrate a white creator such as Jeffree Star? How can you take these black dollars and platform someone like Jeffree? And basically was saying like, oh, and saying that, you know, she doesn't support black creators, but she's endorsing such a man. How dare she? How dare she? You know, which is really kind of funny and a little bit funny for her to say, given the fact that they've been trying to subtly undermine this lady's brand behind the scenes and actually just kind of saw this as a big opportunity to do a big undermining publicly, okay? And here's the thing. I do not think that it was that cool for them to be so excited about a Jeffree Star review, given his history. I do kind of think that Chi Chi should have been a little bit smarter about that. I also feel that Jackie went out of her way to call her out because of the fact that there was tension behind the scenes, okay? It was not something that was done out of the pureness of her heart and the pureness of her politics. And clearly her politics were not that pure, as demonstrated by her failure to call out Two-Faced with the whole Rich Lives Matter thing, right? And the thing is, kind of put yourself in Chi Chi's shoes, right? Jackie and Alyssa had been kind of quietly working behind the scenes and kind of undermining this brand's ability to grow by withholding their endorsement. But then Jeffree Star, this white influencer with a massive audience and institutional power in the beauty space, organically validates the brand. So in a way, you can imagine that Chi Chi was probably like, okay, well, this is an opportunity to make the money that I was basically being denied by these black people in the space, right? Basically, it's like someone who has done racist things is doing something for a black-owned brand that her fellow black creators were not willing to do, you know? And so I can imagine that was an upsetting position for Chi Chi to be in, right? Now, the way that she reacted, though, girl, was a bit much, okay, to say the least, to say the least. But I want to give you guys a framework to think about it, right? Okay. There's a term in psychology that is called reactive abuse. Okay. And reactive abuse is what happens when someone has basically been subjected to sustained covert psychological pressure, like being iced out, being undermined, being held to double standards behind closed doors, having things happen behind the scenes that nobody sees. And then they finally snap publicly. And the person who had been doing the covert damage gets to sit back and be like, wow. Look at how crazy this person is. Look at how wild they are. They are just so out of control. Meanwhile, behind the scenes for years, they've been subtly undermining this lady, right? That's kind of problematic. And I think that that's what happened here, right? Chi Chi got a hold of the official Juvia's Place Twitter account and she fully went off. She was saying all kinds of crazy things, girl. She was calling out Jackie by name, calling her anti-black, talking about her private life, talking about things that were wildly unprofessional and unnecessary. But within it, she was saying that this black creator is also refusing to endorse a black-owned brand. She could have left it there, but she decided that she was going to bring Jackie's personal life into it, which was deeply unprofessional to say the least, okay? But that doesn't mean that her grievance or the thing that she was upset about, which was this double standard, her being called out for accepting an endorsement from Jeffree Star when they had purposely and intentionally withheld endorsements from her for years, was illegitimate. But because of that, she basically gave Jackie the ammunition that she needed to fully undermine Juvia's Place as a brand. And that's exactly what happened. And a lot of her followers boycotted the brand afterwards for many years. And people were telling me recently in my DMs that they were still boycotting Juvia's Place over this stuff, okay? So now that you know the backstory, think about what's happening right now. And I actually think that part of what the problem here is with Painted by Esther and Jackie Aina is that Painted by Esther on multiple occasions has used her platform to endorse Juvia's Place and specifically recommend their blush duos, right? And this is a brand that Jackie used her structural power years ago to kind of undercut their sales. But because of Painted by Esther, a lot of that narrative is kind of getting erased. And that's why I think that Jackie spent her entire response video talking about Juvia's place, because I really do think that that is actually what this is about. I think what this is actually about is the fact that I think Jackie probably feels undermined by Esther. And this is just my speculation, allegedly for entertainment purposes only. I do not know. These are no facts. I don't know anything, okay? I'm not no insider. But I have a feeling that Jackie probably feels pretty undermined by Esther because Esther has used her big platform to endorse Juvia's place, and it, as such, has put them blush duos back on the map because people were using their blush duos to do Painted by Esther's like viral blush look. And if you look at it too, it's kind of a similar situation in that, you know, Jackie's aligning herself with Patrick Ta, who is doing something against, who has done multiple things against other Black creators. It's kind of a similar way that she aligned herself with Two Face back in the day, even though they were basically making a mockery of Black Lives Matter with that little Rich Lives Matter cake, you know? Do you kind of see the parallels there? It's kind of the same dynamic. I honestly think that Jackie reviewed those blushes in the midst of the Painted by Esther controversy as a way of undermining Esther. That's my honest opinion. I think it was in efforts to undermine Esther, but and in a different time in 2017 and 2018, that probably would have worked. But Jackie doesn't have the same structural power that she had back then, and I think that what's happened is that whole thing is kind of blown up in her face. Anyway, in conclusion, okay, that's the story, Morning Glory, okay? And I will say it once and I will say it again, Jackie Aina has opened doors in this industry that other people that were closed before she got there. She is a pioneer, she is a trailblazer, and she is a legend, okay? But the thing is, I've also watched her over many years use the power that came with that position to undermine other people, okay? And something that I've learned is, like over my years on this planet Earth, is that sometimes the people who will fight hardest to get to a table are the people who are the most committed to controlling who else gets a seat at that table, okay? It's just the pattern, okay? And I think that that's what is happening here, right? I think that this is about, ultimately, I think this whole Painted by Esther thing and this whole like endorsement of undermining her by endorsing Patrick Ta, even though what Patrick Ta did was pretty awful, is objectively, I would argue was objectively wrong. I think it's a similar thing. I think that it was her trying to use whatever structural power she has left to undermine Painted by Esther. But at the end of the day, people who are older, and we talk about this in terms of Taylor Swift, we talk about this in terms of a lot of people, the old guard never gets anywhere by trying to undermine the new guard. That always blows up in old guard's face, you know? And I think that that's exactly what is exactly what's happening to Jackie right now. And I think that the tension between Jackie and Esther is all rooted in Esther's endorsement of Juvia's place, because in that sense, Esther is kind of undoing the damage that Jackie had done to that brand. And I imagine that is yet another sign of Jackie's waning influence, which is probably something that she does not like. But that's just my opinion, allegedly for entertainment purposes only. Anyway, y'all, that's all I got to say, okay? But I hope you enjoy my unity look, okay? Because really, I think that I just wish we could all just get along and not be such crabs in the barrel, right? I still love my Jackie Aina palette. I have two of them, okay? This one I've hit pan on a bunch of shadows, and this was always my backup one. And I thought it was a really great palette. And I also think that Painted by Esther is a pioneer in her own right, right? So I hate to see infighting amongst the Black community in beauty, because I really do think that they want us divided, because that's how the system of W supremacy maintains power. But, you know, I don't know. This whole situation has been kind of disappointing to me. I wish that, quite frankly, that Jackie would have done better, okay? And not give in to her more base impulses of perhaps jealousy, and old resentments. But, you know, neither here nor there. Go support Painted by Esther. She's a pioneer in the field. And that's what I got to say. The gray area is where the truth lives. Come with me next time and I'll meet you there. Bye, y'all. Bye.
You never want to be that Black person protecting or trying to shield a non-Black person when they participate in anti-Blackness or when they are participating in Black erasure. When you are copying from other cultures and renaming it, right? That is Black erasure. You are trying to erase the work that specifically in this case Black women have put into a space, and especially like the beauty space, right? Because we understand that in a lot of the white supremacist culture that Black people are not their standard of beauty, right? And so I don't mind Black people. I'm Black people's biggest cheerleader. I want you to succeed in whatever you feel like you can succeed in on any app, any social media, any brand deals, anything like that, but not at the expense of stepping over a Black person. And that's why people are going at Jackie Aina. That's why people are going after her more than Patrick Ta. Because yeah, we kind of expect that from people who are non-Black. We expect them to do shit like that. You know what I mean? Especially Black women. I'm sorry, they the shit, you know, especially when it comes to the beauty standards and things of that nature. But specifically, that's why Jackie's getting attacked, because you're a black woman. I don't give a damn. I tell my white friends, my Hispanic friends, my Asian friends, all the same thing. I'm not gonna come to your defense when you participate in anti-blackness, racism, black erasure, you don't know the history. I'm going to let you get your lashings in. And it seemed like Jackie showed up just to shield Patrick. And so you're going to get your lashings. It is what it is.